Grimm's Fairy Tales, The Frog Prince, written by Saviour Pirotta, illustrated by Cecilia Johansson. And if you'd like to buy the book, check in the link description down below. Long ago there was a king who had a very beautiful daughter. She was so beautiful, she even dazzled the sun. Sometimes when the weather was warm, the princess went out in the forest and sat by a cool, deep pond. One day she was playing with her favorite golden ball when it slipped out of her hands and sank into the water. The beautiful princess started to wail and cry. "Whatever is the matter?" croaked a voice behind her. The princess turned to see a huge frog with bulging eyes. "I have dropped my favorite golden ball in the well," she sniffed. "I'd give anything to get it back." "Anything?" echoed the frog, hopping into the water. "Promise me that you'll let me come and live with you in your palace," said the frog. "Promise I can eat from your silver plate and sleep on your silken pillow, and I'll fetch your ball for you." So the princess smiled and promised the frog she would take him to the palace with her, but she had no intention of keeping her promise. The frog dived down to the bottom of the pond and surfaced with the golden ball. The princess took the ball and started to run away. "Wait for me!" cried the frog, but the princess didn't listen. She just kept on running and running until she reached her father's palace. The next day, the princess was having dinner with her father when she heard a plip, plop, plip sound. Then there was a knock at the door and a croaky voice called, "Princess, princess, let me in!" The princess opened the door, and to her horror, she saw the frog sitting outside. The princess slammed the door shut in his face, and she told her father about the golden ball and how the frog had rescued it for her. "A princess should always keep her promise," said the king. "Let the frog come in and have some dinner." So the princess opened the door again, and the frog followed her inside. Trying hard not to grimace, the princess put the frog on the table, as far away from her as possible. "Bring your plate closer so we can eat together," said the frog. He licked at her food with his tongue and drank milk from her goblet. The princess was so disgusted that she could hardly touch anything. At last the frog said, "Thank you for that excellent meal. Now take me upstairs to your bed so that I can sleep." When the princess heard this, she began to cry. But her father grew angry and said, "You should be grateful to anyone who's helped you in your hour of need. Take the frog up to your room and let him sleep in peace." The princess picked up the frog and, holding his arm's length, took him up to her bedroom. "Now give me a kiss," said the frog. The princess was horrified. "If you do not kiss me," said the frog, "I shall tell the king. He won't be pleased when I say you have got back on your word." The princess didn't want to get in further trouble with the king, so she agreed. All at once there was a blinding flash of light, and the frog turned into a prince. The prince told the princess how a horrible witch had put a curse on him, and how she, the princess, had broken the curse with her kiss. At dawn the next day, a beautiful carriage came to fetch the prince and take him back to his kingdom. At the rear end of the coach stood Henry, the prince's most loyal servant. Poor Henry had been very upset when the witch turned his prince into a frog. He was so upset that the doctor had put 3 iron bands around his heart to keep it from breaking with sorrow. The princess asked the father if she might marry the prince, and he agreed. The princess joined the prince in the coach. When the driver cracked his whip, the servant cheered as they set off along the streets. When the coach was some distance from the palace, the prince did a loud crack. "Henry," he called, "is the carriage falling apart?" "No, your majesty," replied Henry, "it's not the carriage that's breaking. It's one of the iron bands around my heart." There was another crack and another. Henry yelled with joy, for at last all the 3 bands had fallen from his heart. Now Henry was free to celebrate the return of his prince with the princess. The wedding festival soon began, and Henry was overjoyed to see his master marry the beautiful princess. The end.